We are now going to present to you our final project with Alex, Al, Brandon, Leah, and Nicholas. We are going to cover some content dealing with the case study, Just How Competitive Are We? Managing Organizational Culture in a Canadian University Athletics Department. So first, we will highlight the introduction, main ideas, organizational culture, DAR, OCAI analysis, organizational culture, giving tactics and recommendations, solutions, and a conclusion.
The case study that our group analyzed dealt with the University of South Central Ontario and the type of environment they have at their organization. The beginning of the case, the university had decided to hire a new department head as the director of student affairs, who was named to be Christian Jacobs. The environment Jacobs had entered into is competitive on another level and can be a little uncomfortable for some of the employees there. Shortly after the department head of student affairs was hired, he witnessed a widespread disconnect of employees and how they began to flee the organization since he had been hired. Some of these new employees, some of these old employees, just a bunch of employees leaving, which can be an issue. And he saw that as something internally that needed to be done to kind of make sure that nobody leaves again. So this will be the first task at hand for Jacobs to handle, as he needs to fill empty jobs needed for the athletic department to succeed. As Christian Jacobs continues his job, he begins to learn about a great deal more that has to go on, or that has gone on with South Central Ontario. Another issues that Jacobs has become aware of is the lack of budgeting the university for sports. This is a huge problem as they're an athletic department. They need this money. So trying to find ways of getting in sponsors or getting donors, whatever way they can, even if that's changing up how they do things at the organization.
Now, let's highlight some of the main issues. Our group decided to pick out 6 main issues that we highlighted in our case study. The first thing being the lack of communication. Secondly, being the fact that people began to leave the office. Third being the lack of transparency. Fourth being the lack of resources. Fifth being the university does not have a big enough budget, meaning that they lost $24,000 in the last year and also $180,000 over the last 4 years. And lastly being, the university needs to update its facilities so the student athletes can have the best opportunity while attending this university.
Scott was very one-sided with like how he did things, and he was the made his own decisions and was basically didn't let anyone else cooperate and give like advice or opinions with helping like make decisions. In this organization, the culture was a very winning culture, and they wanted the best success that they could have, and that made for a very competitive department. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is the environment. The environment was very polarizing. People felt that things need to change. Certain groups of people felt that there's not a lot of transparency with the communication.
As we analyzed the CVF results, we found that the males closely relate more to each other than the females did. In these illustrations, we have results from males compared to the results of females. As it shows, the males closely relate more together than the females do. The females are more spread out. This can be a big challenge with the company, as the females see that there is hardly any collaboration between any of them. The males kind of see a little bit, but not enough to actually get things done in the organization. Another way that they really need to improve that is shown in this is their competitiveness. They feel like there's way too much competition and not enough actual collaboration going into the collaboration part. With creativity and control/power, I think that there is still like a little disconnect from what they have to do. But they are trying to see and stuff like that. As we have seen in this case, this can be caused by more time bonding among the males with little to no inclusion of any of the females in the organization. The females' current and desired very much differ from each other, whereas like the males are more on the same page about things and where they see the company going in the future. The females are more all over the place, especially with their desired and with their current.
So when trying to find solutions for the changes that need to be made in the DAR, there's a few things that were evident. First off, the budgeting is very poor. They lost nearly 180,000 Canadian dollars in the past 4 years. On top of that, new facilities need to be made, which can cost them upwards of 40 million Canadian dollars. To try to combat all of this loss, they've already tried to cut multiple sports teams, which has helped sort of because it like allowed their few remaining teams to have like all the focus on them, which like it kind of showcases their talents better. But I think that they should personally start from the ground up. They should make a task force. This allows multiple people's ideas to come through instead of just one person, which is kind of what they've had so far with their current athletic director. Speaking of that, I think that they should either speak in depth to their current director or perhaps look at a different route and maybe replace him. There's multiple people leaving the department and the school because of him, and his like attitude just isn't really there. A lot of people have left, so I think maybe hiring a new AD could possibly help. With the task force, there could also be more inclusion like in the department because there's a lot of people feeling excluded or that maybe their opinion doesn't matter and there's a bad culture overall. Employees need their voices to be heard. So something that they can do is have maybe one-on-one meetings. This could help them to feel heard and also bring up more solutions. So I think a complete rebranding of their athletic department would probably be very helpful. Also, maybe it could bring in more donors to help them with their loss and maybe building new facilities.
So when it comes to some tactics and strategies inside the culture in the department, some things that could be done would be using like Microsoft Teams or Slack because they've been slacking, well not slacking, they've been lacking communication throughout the whole department, and some people are withholding information or they aren't even getting the information they need. So it's causing a lot of people in the organization to be disorganized and more stressed because they don't know what's going on. And another thing that they can do would be to have smaller groups. So if they have small groups and small group activities, they can be more creative. They can hold each other accountable. They're able to not feel as pressured, and they can just overall produce better and higher quality work. Another tactic that can be used would be to add more diversity within the staff and students, but more on the staff, because if they have more diversity, they can, everyone has different backgrounds, different education backgrounds. Overall, just everyone's not the same, so they're able to think differently. They can just overall produce better work. And then when another part would be the department can be more transparent with each other, and when it comes to giving information and gathering information, if they do this, then they are kind of able to help the employees feel a little bit more comfortable.
In conclusion, our group has provided problems, tactics, and solutions that we feel the athletic department needs to improve upon to make for a better environment.
We would like to thank you for listening to our presentation, and we hope that we gave you some knowledge about this university.